Hello everyone, welcome back to Valley of the Mist Block of the Month. I'm Adriane Ritter.
And I'm Shelley McNeely.
And this is our July 2023 Block of the Month. So, this block we're calling Birds in the Cabin because it kind of has flying geese
Look.
all
Good.
around it.
Yeah.
What we love about it, and you can see it from our two blocks, is the curved look it gets. And that we get from combining flying geese with one of our other log cabin options that we did previously, which was the off-center.
Right.
Oh, that's one we just did last month. Okay, so we're kind of taking and progressing from last month's log cabin block. So Shelley, what do they need fabric-wise?
Okay, so this year we're using a focused fabric, Paint Impressions by Hoffman. And if you're going to turn one in for the guild, then you need to use this focused fabric. But if not, use whatever you want. Okay, and then we're going to have a white and two coordinating. So for this particular block,
Please download the instructions either in the comment section of this video or on our guild website, because there are a lot of sizes of fabric.
There are.
You are never going to remember them.
no, yep.
So, all right, she's going to go through the whole long list.
Okay, self-focused. Just need one piece that is 2.5 inch square. Then we're going to have coordinating 1, which is a 2.5 inch square, and then a 3 inch square and a 3.5 inch square. And then a coordinating 2, which is a 2 3/4 inch square, and then a 3 1/4 inch square. And all of those you're going to cut on the diagonal.
Not the focus.
Right.
Not,
Just the coordinating.
Just the coordinating fabric.
And then for the white, we have a long list for the white. So from a 1 1/4 inch wide, you're going to need a 2.5 inch piece, a 3 1/4 inch, no, I'm sorry, two 2.5 inch pieces, two 3 1/4 inch pieces, a 4 inch, a 4 3/4, 5 3/4, 6 1/2, 7 3/4, 8 1/2, 10, and 10 3/4. Those are the hard ones. Then from 1.5 inch wide, you're going to need a 4 inch and a 5 inch. And then from 1 3/4 inch wide, a 5 3/4, and a 7. Then from 2 inches wide, we're going to need 7 3/4 and 9 1/4. And then from 2 1/4, we're going to need a 10 and an 11 3/4.
Okay, so I'm going to try to make that a little bit more logical to you. But basically, we're starting with a focus in the center that's 2.5 inch square. And the first round of fabrics we're going to put on this log cabin are all 1 1/4 inch wide. And so those are those 2 and 2 that you need. The
Right.
first 4 strips, which were 2.5 and 3 1/4. Now, you're not going to sew them on like you normally do, so don't just jump into doing that. We're going to explain that. And then one side of this block uses all 1 1/4 inch wide strips. And you can cut them ahead. It will make it easier. Those ones will go on the size of the block that you're working on. And then the other half of the block, this is the off-center part. And these strips are gradually going to get wider. They start at 1 1/4 in that first round, and then they're 1 1/2, and they go up by 1/4 inch each round, and there's 5 rounds. The coordinating fabrics, they are going up, you'll see, by 1/4 inch also, because that's what we're making the flying geese from, and we're alternating the two fabrics as you go out until you cut them in half to use one on each side. The tricky part is, because we're putting that flying geese triangle on the side, you don't actually need to sew the whole length of the side. Now on where the two skinny white ones meet, the 1 1/4 inch wide pieces, that's a whole corner. You've got to fill that out. And where the 2 and then one of the corners where the two wide ones meet, you've got to fill out that whole corner. But these two corners, we don't need the whole corner. And so where we're taking off has to do with, we're taking off of the wide pieces. Now, where the narrow pieces are going the whole length on either one. But you start with this one, so it starts at the whole length. And then, so you're going to start on this part and add here and then here and then here as we go around. And you're going to go that counterclockwise or whichever one you want to do. Just do it the same. But you're going to start with the narrow fabrics first. And then when you go to put on, when we get to this round, and Shelley actually has her first round sewn.
Right.
So she's going to show you. And so I'm pointing to the big pieces, but she's got the little one. So you can see that she's got kind of only partial corners in two of those corners, and those are where she's going to add these flying geese.
Right.
And so they don't need to fill out the whole thing. So we've shortened those pieces just so you don't waste fabric.
Right.
Right. And I'm trying to decide, should I show them the trimming on that right now? We can. Okay. So to trim these, to get this to add the flying geese on the corner, and I do want to say, you do want to use a pretty accurate 1/4 inch seam. It's not oversized. The only things that are slightly oversized are the triangles, and really they're not very much oversized. So if you're not sure of your 1/4 inch seam, when you're putting on the triangle, you might want to take a smaller seam. But let me grab this ruler. So to do this trimming that we're going to do, it's really easy. You're going to take your pieces, and this will be the same for so basically you're going to add your 4 whites for the round, and then you're going to trim to add the flying geese. And to do that, you're going to set your ruler, and see, I'm going to use this 45-degree line right here, and I'm going to line that along that edge of between the focus fabric and the white that we just added. And you'll see it each round. It'll be, you can use, I mean, they should be parallel, so you can use any round. But and up here, you want to have this a 1/4 inch above the point of the prior round. And then you trim off those tips and turn it over and do the same thing. So it's simple, and then you take a triangle of fabric. This isn't cut in half, but I'll show it. You're going to take and set. That now gives you a good edge, and it's not so obvious in this first round because this round is square, but they're going to start to get kind of off center, and that's what makes this curve. So you're going to take your triangle of the appropriate size, and you're going to set it on that edge we just cut, and you're going to center it on the edge. You're not going to center it on the block because that's going to start to move. So you're going to center it and sew down that 1/4 inch seam, press it out. We press out
right.
every
Always
round.
pressed out, yeah.
And then I think let's do that much, and we're going to come back and we'll talk about the next step.
Yeah.
Okay, so it's the most complicated part is the cutting the pieces.
And actually, I thought I had to make sure I knew where I was starting.
Yeah.
You have to make sure you start in the same place every time. Otherwise, your skinny, your 1/4 inches wide ones are not going to end up always in the same place. You know what I mean? The 1/4 inch lines, fabrics, always go against the 1/4 inch before.
1 1/4.
I'm sorry, 1 1/4.
Yeah.
Always go against the 1 1/4. So you have to make sure you start right, or you're going to mess that up.
Yeah, and probably the hardest round to see that in is after the first round, because those were all 1 1/4 inch.
Right.
But just look for that first edge.
Yeah, you can probably turn it over, and you can say, "Oh, this was the smallest piece," and that would be your starting one.
So basically, let me reiterate. In the first round, you have a 2.5 inch focus, and you have a 2.5 inch by 1 1/4 inch white, and you sew those two together. Press it out to the white. Then the next piece you're going to add is a 1 1/4 inch by 3 1/4 inch.
Mm-hmm.
It's not the other 2 1/2.
Right. Yeah.
Okay. And then you press that out, and now you've got your two what are going to stay being your skinny edges, the rest of the block. And then the next piece you add is that other 2 1/2 inch. And that one just needs to cover the original piece, the original focus fabric piece. So that's why it only needs to be 2 1/2. It only needs to, we only need it to come over into,
Might have this backwards right now.
yeah, I think I turned it. It only needs to come and cut across that seam.
Right.
Because that'll give you then your 1/4 inch seam allowance for the next block.
I must admit, when I was sewing these, when I went to put the second piece on, or the third piece, or no, second or fourth piece, I always lined the corner up. That would be the white, always white corner. And so, because that has to be perfect edge.
Yeah, and the other one just kind of goes into place. And if it's a little short, it's fine.
Yeah.
You'll have enough there.
That's the edge that matters.
These edges, these two edges, really make sure you line those ones up accurately, because we're going to cover up these all the way out. So we're going to come back after before we trim. We're going to trim this to, I'm going to sew mine like this and put my corners on, and then we'll be back. I do want to say though, once you get through the first round, if you take your fabrics and you line them up by size, but keep the 1 1/4 inch wide ones in one stack, and have the smallest on top and then the biggest, and then do the same with the other whites, with the smallest to the biggest, and that will also be the narrowest to the widest. It works out that way. Stack those, because that's the order you're going to use them. And the same thing with your coordinating fabrics. Have the smallest one on top and the biggest one on the bottom, and then you'll be in the right order. They'll be in the right order. Okay, so we'll see you back with our first round completed. These are our round 1 blocks, not trimmed. So the next step that you have to do, and like I said before, it's going to be the same every round. You're going to take a square ruler, and Shelly's going to give you these sizes in just a minute, but for this round, and it should be obvious, you should be able to lay your ruler up there and go, oh, okay, these need to be this size. And what is the size? 4 inches. 4 inches. Now mine looks really weird because I have the wrong edge on it. Okay, and so you're just going to trim off, basically you're going to make sure your block is 4 inches, and you're going to trim off the extra of the triangles.
Hopefully the other part is pretty close to being right and not small. Right?
Yeah, if it is small, then I would adjust for that in the next round and make your seams a little smaller. So then after you trim that, then the next step is you're going to start, like we said, you're going to find that first corner, which on mine will be this one. And I kind of try to keep mine oriented the same so I could remember. But like I said, after this first round, when you start putting on the wider ones on the second 2 corners, it'll be more obvious.
Right.
So you're going to, this first piece will be 4 inches. The next piece is 3/4 of an inch longer. Is that what it is?
Yeah, 4 3/4.
Yeah. So the first piece is always the width of you trim the block, and then the next piece is 3/4 inch longer. The other two, it's harder to predict because those are getting bigger. So you're going to put on those two like a normal log cabin, fit them on right, and then this you put the third piece and you're going to line it up with that corner and come over to this, and then the fourth piece you're going to line up with this corner and come this way.
Right.
And then trim and keep going.
Add your corners and yeah.
Yeah. So Shelly's going to give you the sizes for the trimming after each round.
Right.
We're not going to mention round 5. That's obvious. It should be 12 and a half.
Okay.
So unless we can think of something,
something that comes to mind while we're sewing.
Yeah, keep pressing out. Before she gives those sizes, I'm making you wait for those sizes. I'm just trying to think if there was anything. I mean, I will tell you that. So this block, I saw a picture of this block, and there were no instructions on how to make it. And Shelley thinks it was a paper piece block. But I went into EQ and I played around with it, and I figured out sizes, and I figured out how I wanted to do it. And it's not hard. Like we said, the hardest thing is, well, when I was figuring out the length of the sizes, EQ wasn't very good about giving me the right.
Yeah, for some reason didn't want to do it right.
Of the white strips. So I miscut a lot of those. And then I gave Shelley the sizes, and she goes, nope, these still aren't right. Yeah. Anyway, so, all right, what are the square up sizes?
Okay, so after round 1, like we said, it'll be 4 inches square. And after round 2, it should be 5 3/4 inches. After round 3, 7 3/4 inches. And after round 4, 10 inches.
Okay.
And then, like we said, after the last one, you square it up to 12 and a half.
Okay, so we will come back either with our finished block or with some more words of wisdom. Well, we do have some words of wisdom, but we finished our block.
Yes, we did.
Shelley, what's your words of wisdom?
Mine is, when I was squaring up the blocks, I found it easier because these are kind of lumpy to do it with the block upside down. It seemed to lay flatter. My ruler didn't want to move around as much. So,
yeah, because of all those flying geese, those seams kind of lift the block up when you're trying to.
Right.
And on the big ruler that you're having to use, it gets a little weird.
Yeah.
So, I mean, it's kind of, you'd say, why is that different? But the fabric's laying flatter against the cutting mat, I think, is what helps.
I think so, because I found that when I was doing it the other way, sometimes it wanted to just pull the fabric a little bit instead of just staying where you wanted it to.
Right.
So
we wanted to show you with our 4 blocks the circle kind of pattern that you get with this block that we find really cool.
Yeah.
So Shelley's actually planning on making 4 of these blocks for her quilt to put in the center.
That's right.
So anyway, so this block is, like we said, this is the July block, but it is not due into the guild if you're entering the drawing until September, which we do all the summer. Well, now it's just 2 months. Summer,
yeah. This year at least 2 months.
Yeah. Okay. So there's our birds in the cabin block, and we will see you here next month.